Hi, my name is Zachary Sharp, and I'm a landscape contracting student at Penn State. Today, I will be discussing the highlights of my AutoCAD project for HORT 120 Computers and Landscape Design, as well as the tools I used in order to complete the project. We will be starting with drawing and tools, moving on to our background image, going to scaling, layers and organization, insertable blocks, and finishing with paper space and printing. Let's begin. Drawing and tools. There are many different tools we used in AutoCAD, ranging from the line tool, to the polyline tool, to the circle, to copy, to hatch. All of these tools have their own specific function and can be used in various different applications. In particular, we used the line tool to outline the house on our master plan, as well as use the polyline tool to outline the property line. We use circles to outline all of our trees, shrubs, perennials, and elsewise, all to create a semblance of. We used other tools such as the copy and the trim to refine our design and create a more visually pleasing. Now, moving on to our background image. We had two different background images that we used to create two different designs. We had the master plan, which you see on the left, and the garden plan, which you see on the right. Garden plan was simpler, it was smaller. We started with that first to learn the very basics of the tools and how they all worked. Then, once we had completed that, and we moved on to the master plan, which, as you can see, is much more in depth. There's more shrubs, there's more items on the map, there is a house in the middle. It created a much more challenging exercise for us. As for scaling, that was taking each of the background images using a known dimension from the real world and scaling them to fit in the workspace 1-to-1. So everything we put in would be as it was on the real site. We scaled the image first, then we scaled all of our stuff to fit. We scaled it in the workspace, and then we scaled it to the viewport scale for printing, as I will discuss later. We had many different layers in our projects, so things could be identified and worked on separately. Shrubs were a different color than patios, patios were a different color than the house, and the house was a different color than the driveway. This is so we could make the design more appealing without the background image behind it, and also things could be identified, located, and worked on much easier on their own. We used a few tools for this, mainly the Layer Properties Manager, which is where we could turn on and off layers, we could move things between layers, we could decide what layer we were going to draw on, and we could decide. Now we move on to insertable blocks. Insertable blocks are pre-made objects that you can either create on your own if you wanted to design something such as the lounge chairs on the left that Dr. Moni created for our class to use, or something you can pull off the internet that many other people have already made, such as on your right, the table and chairs that we used from cadblocks.net, as well as many other objects in our design, such as another set of table and chairs. Lastly, we move on to paper space and printing. This is the final steps of the project, where we used things such as the viewport. We scaled the project to fit the page, we put our name and titled the project, and we decided what size we were going to print. We used a standard 11 by 8.5 piece of paper out of the printer and scaled everything to fit the viewport, and then scaled each project to a respective dimension. Thank you very much for listening into my project, and I hope to see you again on the next one.